recorded.
Yes, we do.
All right, let me share the screen, share desktop. Oh, that's not really what I wanted. Let's see, Safari and here. All right, here's what you guys look like, just so you know. I couldn't believe it. But we have 3 maximizers and 3 individualization. So that, well, I should wait till we actually get started, but that led me to go look at that, right? I was like, okay, let me go to all the assessments and actually look up, you know, there's 400 people in this database. How many are maximizers individualization? And it's only 7. So it's actually pretty rare. I just happened to find you guys. Dennis, who Brad knows, has it. There's an HR business partner. James, I used to work with, he has it, but that's about it besides you guys. And yeah. What else? Do we see any other patterns here? Or is that the...
I think you're the one that would see the patterns.
Yeah, I think it's all over the place from there. I don't really see.
Yeah, I mean, what about maximizer strategic? I mean,
yeah, no, that is far more. Yes, that's found all the time. So let's look at that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's found 19 times compared to the 7 that we just looked at.
So what? Oh, the individualization and strategic.
This is maximization strategic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of those 3, strategic, maximization, individualization, or maximizer individualization, are any or all of them moderately rare just in themselves? Like command, obviously, it's super rare.
Maximizer is the most rare. Strategic is not. Strategic is around 22%. Individualization is around 16%. But it's the maximizer, I think, that gets us a little closer to single digits. I think it's 13, if I remember correctly. But I would have thought maximizer individualization would have been a more prominent pair just because of the nature of both of those strengths. But I was wrong.
Was I late or?
No, we were just.
I was like, what I missed?
We were just preparing all the strategic people.
Oh yeah, thanks. I missed something good then.
That's because we need help.
What'd you say?
And since we were recording, yeah, and since we were recording, I was sharing a really great childhood upbringing story about Brandy. So, you know, you need to rewatch the record. Don't worry, I have more for today.
I'm totally doing that. Totally rewatching.
That'll be good. So where is Trevor based? Trevor, where are you? Are you here in Dallas or are you out of town?
I think he's on a cruise.
Currently, here's the situation. So I am in Omaha usually. Well, I guess that's where I live. We might be crossing into usually I'm here. So yeah, I'm in Omaha where we grew up and just haven't made it out of there. I've been trying my whole life and one day I'll make it to an ocean permanently, but for now it's every, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 weeks I get to make it out here.
Where is here?
Well, here being the ocean, I go down to the Playa del Carmen and Riviera Maya area quite a lot. My boys are scuba certified with me, and so we dive ships and reefs and things like that a lot. We do San Diego a lot. We've hit tons of areas in Florida a lot. This is a cruise down to Aruba, so I haven't done a cruise since before COVID. This is about my 8th or 9th, and yeah, I just love ocean, water. I just got to be healed by it. So,
wow, that's great.
Yeah. So he flew. Was it Miami that you ported out of? Yeah. So and then where does this cruise go?
Let's see, Curacao, Aruba, and the little island off of Turks and Caicos. I think it's Grand Turks. So we'll hit all 3 of those, and then just lots of days at sea. It's an 8-day cruise, so most of it's at sea.
It just didn't look like Omaha. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's a
The
touch
Missouri
different than
River doesn't
Omaha.
look anything like that.
You just got to get really close. Because you get really close, and it gets this
I've
blue.
never seen it that blue. I've never seen
Get
it
closer.
that blue.
Lean way in.
Yeah.
That's nasty. Don't do that.
Yeah, until you pass out and all you see is blue. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Has one
Yeah.
brown river. That's why we're joking, guys.
That
'Cause
is-
it's brown river.
Omaha
It
is
is
where
gross.
I spent all my childhood holidays. My great grandmother and great aunts all lived there. So Christmas, summer vacations frequently took us to Omaha. It's the place of my
Nice.
birth as well.
Oh, where were you
Wow.
born?
I was born in Omaha, but I,
Okay.
from the age of 3, have been in Iowa until I came to Texas in my late 20s, or
Gotcha.
my mid 20s, and then Arizona, and then back here in Texas.
Yeah, Janet, who's on the call today, she just visited Nebraska for the first time. So I'm glad that she had a pleasant experience. She said we were all very warm, welcoming people up there.
Yep, that's how I see us.
Yeah. All right, so it might just be us, but or people will join like they normally do throughout the call. So we're just gonna get going because if you guys don't know, we do have people listen to these recordings. So even if there's not, a ton of people on the call, people do go listen to them. So you will be heard outside of today. So here's the 3 people that we are talking with today: Brad, Susan, and my brother, Trevor. And the theme of today is individualization, maximizer, strategic. And you say, well, Brandy, there's only 3 maximizers, 3 individualization. There's only 2 strategic. But it's because Susan actually has strategic at number 6. Yeah, right here. Okay. So it doesn't show up on the group results, but she is very highly strategic. And so I invited her to join as well today.
You always got to have an oddball, and
With Gallup CliftonStrengths, almost everybody's an oddball. Look at all these singles here that we have. So I'll have each one of you introduce yourself and share with everybody what you're doing with your life and maybe a little bit about how you got there, so that we can just get to know you today, and then we can start to go through your strengths. So we'll just go in order. Brad, how about you start?
Well, I appreciate that. My name is Brad Stevens. I own a company called Level C Solutions. Have been in the recruiting and staffing industry for over 30 years. And our business model in now is where I work with business owners or whoever has P&L responsibility to help them solve their people problems. The way we do that is we work with and represent multiple executive search firms, independent recruiters, staffing companies, HR consultants, back office solutions. So once we get the owner to really define what they need, then I pull in the right resources to handle the implementation. And got here at one point in life, I had my own staffing firm where at our peak, we had 500 temps out day in, day out. So I've learned cash flow the hard way, and here's where we are today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Susan, do you want to go next and share with
I'll be
everybody
happy
who you
to.
are?
So I am a relationship architect, and I come at that from a very odd direction. My background was building department stores and working in retail design. Within a department store planning, new construction, renovations, and such. At a certain point, left the corporate world, was doing freelance architecture for various people while also being a massage therapist working with the structure of the body. And 7 years ago, I heard of a program called Bank Code, and you see behind my name the NAKB, which stands for the Nurturing Action Knowledge and Blueprint of That Assessment. And I'm now certified to coach and train in that. And because of what I saw in that, it was like a decision-making assessment that layered beautifully with Gallup and other assessments I had worked with at various times in management. So I love being able to help people figure out how they have those conversations to get through the things that they've been having trouble moving forward in their life.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Trevor, you want to introduce yourself and share with the group what you're up to?
Yep. Let me know if my internet gets weak, and I'll cut camera and all that kind of stuff. I am, making it happen as we go. Yeah. So I think Brandy helped me identify with the word entrepreneur. I always had issue with that word because it was like this trendy club that a lot of people wanted to be part of, and I didn't want to be part of their club. But in reality, I don't think I can actually embody any other word. Since I was a kid, I've been owning and running and doing things. And so I was writing computer code when I was in 5th grade, and that turned into process design and process streamlining and outsourcing and Lean Six Sigma and all that kind of process improvement realm of finding out root causes and operations. And then somewhere in there, I dove into, for fun, like on my own, all of these books on different assessments and either psychoanalytics or strengths, Gallup Strengths and Myers-Briggs and Berkman and 30 others, and started blending all of those. And the process design world and the pursuing of a real estate flip turned into having a real estate license, which turned into automated, systematized real estate world, and now running a real estate organization and building a culture and teaching people how to be agents and long-term depth and connection instead of sales driven, we're service driven. And so all of that to say, I'm a bit of a cross section of many worlds, and it is primarily the real estate world that I operate in about 3 or 4 different capacities.
So for the rest of you to gain a little more insight on me and Strengthology, Trevor is actually the one who introduced me to the Gallup CliftonStrengths assessment all those years ago and said, I think this is something that you'll like. He doesn't even remember it, but it's just because he was using his natural strengths of seeing what I might be interested in and helping me capitalize on my strengths as well as my interests through his individualization and maximization. And one of the things I heard all 3 of you allude to was the coaching piece that you guys all have in your businesses. So let's start there. Let's go backwards now. We'll go Trevor, Susan, Brad, but can you guys share with us how you use that individualization and maximization and even strategic or other of your strengths to really help coach people to be their best selves or live in their best skin?
Yeah, I think the individualization really helps me slow down my strategic nature. I can take a genuine interest and care in what somebody actually wants, and I can help draw it out of them. And they feel that that they can take their armor off and that it's a safe space because them as a unique individual is accepted for who they are. And I can just talk to them like a friend, all the while I do have gears of crazy fast paced running strategy going in my head, looking for certain keywords or certain pieces to then take the conversation into. So lots and lots of genuine listening, letting them know they're safe. And then I switch and I literally flip one lever off and the other lever on, and I do question-based solutioning. And I'll offer all of these different out-of-the-box ideas and angles and asking them, well, what did Brandy even actually said this very well in one of our coaching sessions with one of my agents. What did you do in the past that worked well for you? And it's the strategy and it's the answers and it's the solutions I'm coming up with, but in a question format. And I think it's the blend of those 2 strengths that allows me to dance around both of them and turn them both on and off so that I can actually connect and not just constantly bulldoze with an agenda.
Yeah, and what I also see you do is just really tap into how somebody needs to be communicated to, negotiated with, worked with, interacted with, let's say it that way. It's probably the best way to say it, right? That because of who they are, what they care about, and what their motivations are.
Yep. Yeah, I need to know. I mean, I need to know why we're even having the conversation. I need to hear it from them so that I can adapt and appeal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm speaking my own native language in a foreign country. And communication can kind of sort of happen, but that's not the greatest idea. I would rather learn their language and use that when I'm talking.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. What about you, Susan? How does those three strengths, individualization, maximizer, and strategic, play out for you? You've got the learner too, I think, right?
A learner is my number one.
Okay.
And I approach it from I'm learning in other ways how to help someone see the best in themselves. So I bring that side of the learner into everything I do, but it's not because I'm seeking the knowledge to own it, but more to share it. And that's where, looking at it from my bank code, the nurturing is first and the knowledge is third. I use what I learn to serve others. And so I am constantly looking at them to see what I see they have the opportunity to do, and help them to see it for themselves, not in a pushy way, more in a conversational, fun way. I'm really about how do we open things up to make it work for their best interests in the long run, and to serve the project that we're asking them to work with. So frequently, when you're looking at something with someone and they have a goal in mind, they have a hard time understanding why you want them to do certain things that they have no interest in. And if I can help them to look at it from a different perspective, to understand the power of what they bring to the team, the power of how that serves their long-term goal, not their short-term necessarily, but their long-term, and how that helps them to elevate themselves in different ways. All those pieces come together.
Yeah, so you guys on the call can probably hear already a pretty distinct where Susan just has this huge focus on, teaching others so that they grasp it, and learning about things, probably I would say, Susan, about the people, but also learning about other stuff from a resource perspective, so that you can bring that both together and then helps show someone who they are so that they can take it and run with it.
Yeah, very much.
Right. Where when we were listening to Trevor, I don't know if you guys heard it, but I heard way more of the strategic. It's all about what we need to do strategically as a business, and what needs to get done strategically, and all of his strengths start to come into play in order to serve that strategic plan. Now, if you notice, Trevor has 4 categories. His weights a little bit more into the influencing, where when we looked at Susan's, it's a little more weighty on the relationship building, but it's still 4. And then when we look at Brad's, he also has 4, but he weights a little bit more on the execution side. Okay, Brad, your turn.
Well, I hadn't thought about it before, but I think where I first gravitated towards the individualization piece is back in time. I had the opportunity when I first got recruited into the temporary industry in the mid-'80s. After about 2 years, I had a chance to pioneer a proactive staffing model versus the reactionary temporary help model. And in that, we would personalize the services directly to each department for the large banks, even down to the supervisor level, to help. I'm going to, now it rings true as far as maximizing the people we place for those departments so they could function more appropriately. Fast forward, we do that same thing now with business owners to help strategically figure out where they're taking their business. Are they going to grow it to sell it, grow it to hand it off to the next generation? That influences the type of talent they need. So that's where we personalize it or individualize it to that company as we define it, to help maximize the relationships. Because my goal is to keep clients for 10 years. So that's where if we do it right, it just works and we stick around. Does that help?
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I have another question for you, Brad, and that's, okay, so you've described to us very clearly what you do for your clients. And by the way, everybody that's listening, that's the responsibility piece. When someone is really focused on serving clients and they want to meet the client's needs, they usually have a sense of responsibility somewhere in their top 10. So what if we flip it, Brad, and look at it from what you do to run your business? Because that's the piece I get to see all the time, right? Is how you run your business internally in order to have those effects for your clients. How would you say that you use your strategic maximizer, individualization, and maybe even achiever to function?
Well, if I'm in sync, what I do typically with each of the individuals on our team, including you, Brandy, is to figure out how to, I'm going to call it position opportunities where it maximizes your talents, Rhonda's talents, Susan's talents, Wendy's, Kim's, in a manner that has that, I'm going to call it that double effect. Because then it's a win-win-win all the way around.
Yeah.
And that's where I really tend to focus on how do we maximize the talent we're working with in a manner that's conducive to grow the business, run the business, and help each other grow our own businesses. Is that what you're looking
Yeah,
for?
it's exactly right, because I've never ever worked with anyone else before that was so good at just simply focusing on what people are good at and helping them stay in those lanes, because we all, all of us that work with you might want to be like, oh, we could go here, we could do this, we could do that. You're like, let's just keep it focused on what you're really good at, and let's build that expertise so that you become known for that. You get to operate in a way that's going to make you successful. And I believe that you not only do that, once you've picked somebody to be in your circle, but you really seek out and look for, as you meet new people, highly talented top performers to join that inner circle. And then you somehow see that you could potentially maximize them into who they could be. Is that an accurate or fair statement?
Very much so. Yeah. I'm not too good at being patient enough to develop and grow people from whatever they're doing, as much as take highly qualified and highly talented people and help them maximize what they do.
Right. Trevor, do you have the same approach with your real estate agents? Trevor has a team, about 25-ish real estate agents that he has built up over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I was over here nodding away. I mean, everything, not falling asleep, the affirmation kind.
Well, you never know.
On that cruise ship, it might be rocking you to
let's
sleep.
clarify. No, I got my Dos Equis. I'm on the. Okay, let's get back on track here. Yeah, so I was over here just completely agreeing with every bit of that. I mean, if I start blending all three of them, I mean, strategic, individualization, and maximization, I had to. My value system, just my own internal preferences and values are very time based. So when I'm looking at strategy for the company as a whole, or my own personal life, it's that automation component. It's that, how do I outwork? I mean, for the rest of you, Brandy called me ambitiously lazy when I was 8 years old, because I would outwork anyone so that I didn't have to work. And it's true to this day. And now there's all these fancy terms like the 80-20 rule. And, so now it's allowed. But yeah, when I'm working with somebody, I am digging and looking for what their value system is. And that's the individualization component. But I'm still looking to then maximize, and the super strategic amplified, how are we going to get there? but that's how I blend the three. I mean, I had to learn in my own life that, and I'll say this to some people, but probably only maximizers. I'll tell them, you need to learn the word good enough. You need to learn the phrase good enough. Because for me, nothing has an end. I can always make it better. There is a constant and always. And, you get that stereotype of maybe like an overbearing father or something that, you do an amazing job in a football game. And the first thing you come off the field all excited and they're like, all right, you want to know what you could do better? Yeah. And I knew that was going to be a nature for me, and always worked to protect against it. And it really became easier and better when I learned the phrase good enough. And I had to define doing life holistically at 92%. My first drafts are 80%. So, speed to market, mud on the wall, and then 92%. I teach my sons the same thing. And go ahead.
I hear this from maximizers all the time, that they can get into a state of paralysis because it just has to be perfect to go out the door. Mm-hmm. And so then until it's perfect, they won't do anything, which is kind of the opposite of like an activator, right? Who's just going to act without it, with it being completely messy. And of course, both are necessary and needed. There are times when activation and just getting going and just moving is going to be super important. And then there's times when, like, you think about a rocket ship flying to, at NASA, flying to the moon or some other planet or wherever they're going these days, and it needs to be very precise. So I think there are, kind of a time and a place where both can excel.
And because strategic is 6 for me instead of in the top 5, I'm the one who is looking at how we can put something together to get it done, and not even worrying. Perfection has never been key for me. Getting it done, succeeding at meeting the deadlines and pulling it together, helping everybody come together as a team to make it happen, becomes more of me maximizing where they're at in the moment. Where Brad says he works with the top ones, I will take those bottom ones and help them to grow. I'm looking at how we can maximize those who others are looking at as not there yet, and I can see the potential. And because of my learning to look for more things, I'm sometimes looking at how can we help them to move those things forward? How can I find a way to pair them up with somebody else that energizes what they're doing and how they're doing it to make the whole thing come together more smoothly?
So would you guys all say that it's fair to say that Brad has got to focus on maximizing execution a little bit more than the others, where Susan seems to have more of a focus on maximizing relationship building and collaboration, and then Trevor might have a little bit more of a focus on maximizing people's ability to influence?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other thing I just learned is now I know where to send all the second tier players. It's over to Susan.
Right?
There you go, Susan.
And that's what I was going to say too, is I actually am more similar to Brad in that way, in that I don't have the patience to really but what I do have a knack for is I know how to pick a great mentor for them and let them go develop together and run. And I can now just build this will work. Yeah, there you go. Boom, you're together, run. And I move on to the next thing.
Run away.
And sometimes for me, it's helping that person understand that the best way for them to grow is to leave our organization. And not in a pushing them away because you're going, that's it, you're no good. It's a matter of looking at it and saying, here's things you're better at. Go find the place to do those things instead of trying to fit in where you don't fit in. And that, I know that sounds odd, but there have been many times somebody has been working with me and I just sat them down and said, here's what you're good at. This is why you're having a hard time with us here. Think about what you really want to do and where you want to go. Nobody's pushing you. However, you need to look at what serves you, and this isn't it.
Yeah.
And so those hard conversations are very much something I'm adept at having with people when others are like, oh, I'm not talking about that. And I'm like, well, we got to.
Mhm.
I'll take those things on.
Yeah. So the other thing that I heard that I'm kind of jumping back because I just don't want to miss it. The other thing that I keep hearing too is in Trevor's, he's got this automation. I just want to point out that this is coming from this focus. And you know, when we go back, we can see that if it would let me go back, this one. Susan's execution is a ranger, which is more, it's very operational and it's arranging things and rearranging them and arranging them and arranging them and operating at a level,
Fluidity.
well, it's better when there's more, right? It's
Yeah.
juggling. And when you have 25 things going on, you're actually, that's when you're at your most focused best, is when you have a plethora of things going on.
I live in chaos. Yes.
When I look at Brad's, he also has that at number 6. He has a ranger pop up to where he is rearranging talent and people and helping them get maximized and, you know, etc. But Trevor is actually opposite in this because he actually works better when he is focused on 1, 2, maybe 3 major goals, and that's it. Does not like the distractions, does not like all the operational stuff going on, does not like to juggle. So what he does in his world is streamlines and get rid of the distractions and just tries to say, look, this is what we're doing, just this. Let's just maximize and focus on this. What are you guys' thoughts on those differences? Did I state that accurate for all 3 of you?
Yeah. I have been told
Yeah,
many times I'm happier doing multiple things than I am one. And I don't need to complete something to say I've experienced it. And so that makes me oddly unique in the fact that I can start something and go, no, this isn't on task for me long term. I needed to find out what it was. But I think that's part of that learner, that wanting
and you
to
also
know.
don't have any finishing strengths.
No, I do not. Finishing is not my, it's all about starting and playing with it.
What were you going to say, Trevor?
Oh yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you're definitely spot on with me. I mean, give me 3 just outrageous mountains that everybody says are impossible in a pile of dynamite, and I'm going to move those mountains.
So that's the command that everybody just heard, the dynamite.
yeah. You start asking me questions along the way, and I might hand you a stick. I mean,
So I've been helping Trevor, I don't know, for a while, almost a year now, actually.
Pretty close.
Yeah. And I'm definitely the learner of the 2 of us. I love to teach. I love to work with people and show them how to do things. And he's just been offloading everything that with his business that has to do with that onto me so that I can teach and train and interact with people that way, because as you can see, he doesn't have learner anywhere in his top 10.
No.
And I'll confirm for you, Brandy, you're spot on with me, because I rearrange things where it helps maximize the individuals we're working with.
Yeah.
Because conceptually, if you're on the team, we're going to maximize you one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so I'll rearrange workloads. In fact, Rhonda and I just had that conversation a little while ago to adjust some of the things that I've thrown in her court to help maximize her strengths, because she and I had partnered up where she's got the operational business helping clients. We partnered up this year because it complements each other. So you're spot on in terms of that. And I'll give you all the credit in the world, because I had no idea this 34 strengths even existed till I met you. So.
And what I see with you, Brad, is like I was comparing myself to you the other day going, God, he just does so much. You're at this function and then you're at this, and then you show up on Monday and then you're over here and then you're working with these. And I'm like, how does he manage this? I mean, you have so much going on and it just seems effortless for you. But I want to show you guys mine really quick, because I'm completely opposite of all of these people on the call. I have 0 strategy. I have the opposite of individualization and customization. I have consistency. So I apply the same rules and fairness to everybody. you know, I'm kind of like you, Susan. I've got the teacher component, and I do have relator, which is what I call a connector to individualization, because individualization is, you know, looking at someone uniquely, at their diversity, at their differences, and then tapping into those differences and motivations to help someone become uniquely productive and successful. Whereas relator is opposite in that way, where it's focused on someone that that person can relate with and that is like you. So it's a little exclusive in that way. But it loves being one-on-one with people and sharing and being open and being vulnerable, where individualization loves being one-on-one with someone to get to know them in order to understand how they tick, you know, what makes them tick, what motivates them. And so those two kind of come together and connect. But I just thought it was funny as I was listening to all you guys. I'm like, I am so opposite of everything that you're saying. And Trevor's discipline and my focus actually get along really well too. Those are another connecting strength. Yep. Where they're both focused on automation and streamlining, but they come at it completely differently. So just wanted to point that out. Okay, let me pause for a moment. I know we've got several people on the call today. Does anybody have any thoughts, observations, questions for our guests?
I'm going to add that Debbie Morizik is a friend that knows both Brad and I, and she just texted me and said, not finishing answers a lot.
Well, I know how to finish, so I may help you there.
Well, you stay up till like 2 a.m. I don't know how you do it.
Who are you talking to? Are you talking to Brad?
Brad.
Oh, is
Brad,
that
like you were saying earlier, he does it all with ease,
okay.
And he doesn't ever sleep.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem. I go to bed much earlier than 2.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Brandy, we just got to see what happens when I actually like get up and go catch a flight at the early crack of dawn.
I woke up, you guys, at what time did I wake up? 8:30 or something? And I look at my phone and it's got 50 messages on it. I'm like, who? And I thought it was a group text, you know, I'm in these fitness group texts. And then I start looking, I'm like, oh my God, it's Trevor. He's been up since 7 or some ungodly time, and he's been working. I have so much to do.
Yeah, I was through security at the airport before 5. And so there was nobody to distract me. And so that focus, I could go nth degree depth in every single one of the areas of all the things I'm messing with. Well, Brandy's in on all of those different chat groups. Yeah. So it wasn't just one company, it was this absolute spread, which that was something I was realizing here on this call. I do prefer fewer projects, but what I've had to learn to do out of necessity is I had to learn to toggle quickly, because and it's exhausting, because I do prefer to take one thing and just go all the way through and really ram it through some major milestones. But life, business, the world, I mean, you know, having kids, like there's demands that you have to do multiple and do the juggling. And so I will just turn one on and turn it off, another one on, off, and I'll just do that toggle really fast. And that's what's happening in my brain. And so it feels like I'm only working on one thing at a time. There's just a very quick switch happening.
I'm assuming though, that if you are interrupted or get pulled, that could be very frustrating to you. I think like if you can start and actually finish and then move on to the next one, that's probably better than, you know, being pulled into conversations and meetings and stuff while you're trying to do that. Would that be an accurate observation?
Yeah. I've had to develop systems that will let me take those, either what I'm interrupted from or I'm interrupted with, and put them on an out of sight, out of mind timing of when they get to then come up as the next thing. And so I'll use reminders in my phone, and I'll just tell Siri, remind me tomorrow at 9 a.m. something. And that's been my method for years of being able to work on a thing. Even if I have to stop what I'm working on, I'll set up a reminder to resume that tomorrow. So then I'm actually free today to work on the interruption.
Yeah. And I want to point out another thing really quick with Trevor's strengths. So when you have something like maximizer, like all 3 of these people have on the call today, Maximizer is going to intensify everything around it. So you're going to have maximize strategic, maximize individualization, maximize command, et cetera, et cetera. When somebody has command, they intensify everything around it, especially if it's partnered with strategic. So now he's got strategic to the, first power, second power, third power. Focus intensifies everything around it because you have focused command, focused maximizer, focused individualization, focused strategic. So now he's got strategic to the fourth power. Achiever intensifies everything around it. So if you do hear some extremes when Trevor is speaking about the way he operates and the way he functions, it's just because he has these natural intensifications that make him a little bit more heightened than the normal strategic, normal individualization, normal maximizer, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he doesn't have a choice. It's just built in.
I prefer vibrant.
Vibrant. Vibrant's awesome.
Yes.
Description of you.
I'm very vibrant.
Yeah, you wear orange a lot. You have a big orange Jeep and you
I-
wear orange and you have an orange suitcase. Yeah. So
Yep, that's true.
Susan, were you going to add something to that? Did I hear you or was it
I
Rhonda?
was, I probably was just nodding because I tend to just be, engaged and excited, but I don't recall any specifics,
Yeah, no
Oh,
worries.
no.
Someone was going to say something.
Or
so-
maybe it's just that I've been up since 4 a.m. So I was up with Trevor.
What's
Whether he
wrong
was,
with all you people?
I
All you
know. Well,
maximizers.
vacation I can get up for, but otherwise, no.
it's a natural thing.
I'm with
so
you.
I haven't set an alarm in years. And it doesn't
Well,
matter
Susan, you
what time I
started-
went to bed.
You started your comment and sentence, and you just didn't finish it. So it's good and it's on par, right? So we're all good.
Perfect. I'm just being me.
But
It's
you know
all I know
what?
how to be.
Authenticity.
Yep,
Perfect.
really.
I also noticed that all of you have futuristic as kind of a subset, which futuristic is paired with strategic fairly frequently. So that doesn't surprise me to see that futuristic is lingering somewhere nearby. I also noticed that y'all have self-assurance pretty high up in your top 10. So where y'all feel pretty confident about the direction. You guys have like this inner compass, right? And feel confident about the direction that you need to go. And you've got the futuristic that says, this is where we need to go. This is the 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plan. And I've heard all of you refer to that longer term, bigger picture plan when you were all speaking today.
Yeah.
All right. I'm hesitant to look at your bottoms because maximizers don't typically like to look at the bottom. They find them completely irrelevant. And the only reason they might want to know what's in the bottom is so that they can partner with other people, fill in those gaps, get someone else doing what they do best to make sure that thing is not neglected. But it's not a focus of theirs to come in and say, oh, I need to make this better, or I need to address this, or, I need to change myself. Rather, they're like, no, I'm spending time here in my top 10. Everybody else can do the other stuff.
So I'm curious.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm
but now you
curious
have
to
to show us.
Susan and yeah, I'm curious to Susan and Brad. Do you guys feel that individualization paired with your maximizer does open up that interest to your bottoms?
Oh, yeah. Doesn't mean I'm going to address them, but I like to know what they are.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I
think
feel like
that's for me. Yeah. In other
That
words,
mean-
my
okay.
bottom one is restorative. So I'm not, like I used to tell our team, we're not in the rehabilitation center.
Are you sure?
We're not gonna go, we're not gonna go fix people. Yeah, we're not. I'm gonna send them over to Susan now. So
Just for everybody's knowledge on the call, Rhonda actually has restorative in her top 10.
Oh, I do. I was trying to think because
and that's why that comment to me was so funny. Because you actually talk about restoring and fixing things and solving problems all the time.
yeah.
So I think that's really encouraging, right? So Brad and Rhonda work together and Brad's able to work with somebody that has the exact opposite. So for all of your knowledge, maximizer and restorative strengths are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. In fact, they are probably the number one strength that's that far apart. The number one set of strengths. So restorative is all about fixing things, solving problems, loves complex problems, where maximizer is all about, finding something that's already fairly perfect and then perfecting it to the nth degree. And you can see that all three of these maximizers have restorative at 30 or below. It's Brad's lowest one, Trevor's 33, and then it is number 30 for you, Susan.
Mm-hmm. And I find it hysterical that harmony is low for both.
And Brad, it's very relatively low. And so harmony is opposite of strategic. So it's very normal to see harmony very low for strategic people. It's also very common to see consistency, 30 at 33, 30 here, really low for individualizers.
Yeah, that makes sense. To me, harmony, I don't know why, but to me, that seems like somebody like myself who's helping people figure out how to make things happen is kind of looking for a sense of harmony, not necessarily balance.
Yeah, what you see is harmony and consistency together 50% of the time. So if somebody has consistency or harmony, they're going to have the other one close by because they do value consistency, fairness, balance, harmony, peace, accommodation, agreeability. You three have no problem with conflict.
No. We expect it.
No. Yeah, we really talked about dynamite earlier.
Yeah. We can resolve that.
Yeah.
So pop quiz for everybody on the call. What's the opposite of context?
Clueless is what I am.
Context
means that futuristic.
That's exactly right, Trevor, because context is history, looking at the past, looking back, where futuristic is looking forward at what's to come.
Which is where we live. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to look ahead.
Right.
And we don't need to live in the past.
No.
You can learn from the past, though.
Yes.
There's someone with context.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
Sure enough. It's true, though. He's right. I love surrounding myself with people that bring those different strengths for that reason, because it's an age-old adage that if you don't learn from the past, you're destined to repeat it. So it's incredibly valuable. My brain just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to grab other people to help.
Yeah.
And I can look at it, but I just don't want to hang there. If some want to just really keep delving into it deeper and deeper. And I'm like, got the ticket, took the ride, did it once. Okay, move on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What was Rhonda going to say?
Well, I noticed that empathy is low on all three. Does that have anything to do with their top five being?
It's actually not too low for Susan. She's got empathy, developer, adaptability, which these three are usually found together. She's got it kind of in the mid area here. So she's probably a little bit more flexible, a little bit more empathetic, and a little bit more willing to work with the people who need to be grown, because these three sit in the middle zone where it is a bit lower. For the guys, it's Brad's 20th and Trevor's 29th. Just to let y'all know, mine's even lower.
I was going to say, is it typically lower on the male side than the female side?
It is not. I have not seen it be gender specific. No.
I think that's the illusion with a lot of those things, that we have tended to make a male or female and they really aren't.
Correct.
Yeah, like competition is accepted in the male world more than it is in the female world, but it's just as prevalent in both.
Right. And mine's higher than all y'all's. So, yeah.
I was going to say on the empathy thing, just something that I've had to learn along the way, because you hear in the world, the non-Gallup strengths world, you hear about people being empaths. Well, I am one, beyond empathic. I feel the energy. I can I know what is rolling off of people. It's almost like something I had to learn to turn off so I could actually be present rather than just getting all of this input all the time.
Yeah.
And so when you hear somebody being an empath, it actually is incredibly different than Gallup's definition of empathy. The two don't coincide, or from what I've seen
Okay.
anyway.
I agree with you,
They're just
Trevor.
I'm
very
glad you
different
said
things.
that
Yeah.
because I'm glad you said that because I don't know why I'm an empath. And so when I see people's empathy low, it just stands out to me that they don't feel that, I don't know, that they feel things differently, but I guess I am comparing it in the wrong way.
However, I think.
No, first time I
easiest-
took my,
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Trevor. Well, I was
no,
gonna
go
say-
ahead, Susan.
Okay, for me, what I notice with empathy is you can feel it and engage in understanding where they're coming from. You just aren't necessarily going to hang there with them. So there's
Yeah.
that being open to looking at their point of view and why they feel that way. That is empathy in the way I think this is looking at it. And I know it's also how I look at it in what I do with bank code. I have a high empathy ability to engage with others. I am not one who sits there and goes, I feel sorry for them, I'm going to stick with them. If they need to be kicked aside to move themselves forward, I will help them to do that in a different way than most would, that see themselves as being so empathetic that they are just a bleeding heart. And I think that's the difference with this.
Do
Some
you
of us can
guys,
feel that and feel all of this stuff around us, but it doesn't necessarily make us a bleeding heart for others in all cases.
and all three of you are extremely intuitive with your individualization. Do
Yeah.
you guys feel like you make emotional decisions or logical decisions?
I
Well,
make
mine's
both.
emotional. Yeah, I make both, but like
Trevor has
it's emotionally
command.
it's
Trevor has-
emotionally driven with strategy and such. But
Right, because command is
sorry.
high emotion. Command has high emotion, tied to it.
So Brandy, let me ask you
Yeah.
this. So when they were talking about the empathy side, I was looking at mine and I think I'm more of the relator piece,
Sure.
which they may be similar. I can relate to a lot of situations. I just don't have the empathy part as high as they do.
So what
Does
if
that make sense?
what if you can't relate to some, I mean, you see, it's really hard with you guys because you have such strong intuition around each individual, right? You are so observant that you can just pull in what people are saying, the emotion in what they're saying, and what that means from a motivation standpoint, from a collaboration standpoint. And so it feels like empathy to you when it's this really strong intuition. But what I have seen is that your focus is not on sitting there and talking to someone about their feelings and how they feel and what they felt and how to change those feelings, but more about how do I get you performing? How do I get you doing what you do best so you are happy? And it's more of a coach function of, I can see this is who you are. I can see this is how you're feeling. I can see this is not working. So then let's change the situation to get you doing what you do best, get you working with people you like, get you surrounded with a manager that you work well with so that your life is good, rather than the, empathy, which is where Rondia, brings to the table, that says, I can feel how you're feeling and I'm willing to sit here and talk about it and engage it, and I will be there for you, and I'll bring you ice cream, and I'll do whatever I need to do to help you feel better. What do you guys think about that thought?
I will do that for quite a while, but I will still be looking to help them move forward.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm not
typically-
sure.
Oh,
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Well, I typically, I hear what you're saying about, I think historically that was very well defined for me on empathy, but now there's just not enough. I've had to flip a switch. So I can still feel the energy in the room and know when something's off, especially, but I don't need to dive into it so much anymore. And that's on a business level. On a personal level, yeah, I'll probably take in too much of their energy.
So it almost sounds like you guys are really in tune with people's emotions. You just don't do it through the empathy strength. You do it through the individualization strength. Is that a fair?
I would say that's a
Fair.
great way to talk about it, because I'm also learning about them and, you know, engaging with them about who they are, what they want, what they need. And sometimes I feel as if my empathy for them is sometimes seeing for them what they don't see for themselves. So that side of empathy isn't about me sitting with them in something that is destructive. It may be in helping them to understand what they're feeling and why they're feeling that in a way that they have not been able to look at, giving them a different perspective, having them embrace the fact that it is a feeling, it is an emotion, and helping them to see they don't need to stay with that forever.
Yeah,
If
and I
that
don't
makes
think
sense.
empathy is destructive
No, I don't either.
necessarily. I think that every strength can be taken to an extreme positive, someone really
Mhm.
leverages and capitalizes on it, and then someone can also use it to maybe not be the best person. But the highly intelligent empaths that I know, they are really, really good at understanding someone's feelings and then also helping turn those feelings around by just saying the right thing to the person, understanding how they need to hear it, kind of like you guys do with individualization. Trevor,
Yeah,
I
and
think,
I think, yeah, I think I might have the strategic to the fourth or fifth power, whatever we have, that actually can get in the way sometimes. Because if I don't have a strategy, goal, reason, purpose for something, well, then I'm operating in a different space. Like when I took my sons years ago to see the Pixar movie Inside Out in the theaters, I was flipping balling when sadness and happy and they all came together. Like it was just this mess, and I'm here like 6'5" dude in the third row, like bawling his eyes out with two boys, and so stuff like that hits me really deep. Well, so okay,
Yeah.
same thing on like if I'm on like a first date or a second date. I can't even tell you the number of times on either a first or second date we both ended up crying together. Like it's the weirdest thing. And
wow.
I don't strike anyone. I know this was new to you,
Yeah.
because when I'm in those places, I don't have a mission. I don't have a strategy. I don't have a goal. I can just be present. And so then that depth shows up and happens there. And I'm not trying to achieve something or accomplish something. So it's just, and if I do then re-engage that, but we're already in that emotional space with, even like an agent on the team or something like that, I've had the same moments where we're tearing up in team meetings and stuff. And if the strategy and if the need is for them just to feel better, well, then that's the space I stay in. And every bit of strategy is, oh, my mouth stays closed because that's the maximized outcome that's needed. And oh, you need a hug for some weird, awkward amount of time. And like all of that. I mean, maybe it's the leg wrap. I'm not sure. One of them really makes it weird, but I do step into that space when I don't actually have my own agenda. So a lot of the times I have to show up without an agenda, and then I have this super deep connection and moment. But I got to admit, I shy away from it a little bit because it does get so sloppy. Like it is a little bit weird, and it's like, man, I get too invested, too deep, and then I can get hurt, and so the emotional side gets protected against a bit. And so I don't know if that's an amplified individualization. I have no idea if it's something else, but I don't know.
I was going to add in, I must be at the other end of the spectrum on this because I'm like, wow, here's your Kleenex, get over it. That may be my,
come across that
my
way.
achiever in the way of, we got stuff to get done.
I think,
It's just
I think that's
I just
living
don't
in
see
a
you
house
that
where
way.
you're the only man.
Brad, I
Oh,
think this is why you and I get along.
Well, he's surrounded himself with all females, home and work. So it's Brad, you just don't come across. So
Yeah,
bold
but
as you
think
want
about
to.
Connie and myself. We're both very low empathy, very high execution and other things. Like we're not you know, we care about people, but we're not the overly sensitive type.
Right.
And Brandy, working with me with my various companies and teams, she's seen a lot of what you described. She sees that master commander type stance. And so I don't connect deeply, and I don't have a lot of patience for someone has their hurt feelings over a misinterpretation or something. And so thankfully Brandy can help in she's in there with lots of coaching.
Kind of like you've had your 3 minutes. Okay, now let's get over it.
Right. Right.
But you know, I'm so thankful for all of you just being so open and vulnerable, because for anyone listening on the call, all three of these people are amazing to work with. They're highly professional. And even if these things are what they're feeling internally, they certainly don't impose them on another person unless there's a strategic reason for it. And so you know, working with Brad, you know, you may sound impatient when you say that, but you're not. You're one of the most patient people I've ever worked with. Susan is also, you know, really, really relationship building oriented when I've worked with you, Susan. And then, you know,
Yeah.
Trevor is
In fact,
also-
I've had some people say you're the nicest person I know, and I thought that tells me you don't know me very well. Because we are the sort who can empathy with somebody in the moment, but man, when you cross that line, watch out, because when I explode, it is not pretty. And you know, it's the sort of thing that people do not expect, because I do manage to contain it most of the time.
Yeah.
And so it is the sort of thing that there are moments when you step outside of empathy, and maybe that's why it falls lower in my 34, you know, because it isn't something that I make that trumps over other things. I hold it as a very powerful thing to work with, and needing that understanding of where somebody's at in their head and their heart, not in mine.
And when do you feel like they've crossed the line to where you get to that point?
Oh, it can be all sorts of things. You know, on a project, it can be somebody not understanding the deadline, the implication for cost. There was if I can just relate a quick story, having been on both the management side from the owner in a department store and also in the design firm, we were at a point of sending out a revision, and the client called and said they wanted to change something. It wasn't going to go in today's revision. And so those that were sending the revision out were like, well, we'll just put it in next week. And I'm like, hell no, you have to at least put a statement in there for the contractor to know he is to stop work on that zone because of the cost implication and the time implication of what it's going to take to rectify that in the amount of time it's going to take to address what the owner wants to change. That's where my empathy for them to feel about we can't do this today was overtaken by the strategic and understanding that it has to be acknowledged, not necessarily fixed, but acknowledged and put on hold in order to make it work for everybody at its best. And that's what they were afraid to do. And I exploded on them. And as one of my friends who happened to witness it has frequently said, if her head starts shaking, get out of the way. You know?
So, all right, it is 1 o'clock. I'm going to pause. Is there any other questions before we close this discussion up today from any of the participants? Let me look at the chat really quick.
It's entertaining. People are crying about Pixar's movies in the chat.
I know, yeah.
That's funny.
I sat at a movie with new friends when I was going through a divorce, and it was I can't now even think of the name, but it was one where Sandra Bullock was in love with the man who got pushed off the train tracks or while you were sleeping or something. And I just was boo-hooing through this movie, and everybody's looking at me like, well, it's kind of touching, but I don't know why you're going berserk. But yeah, sometimes things hit us in different ways and it's hard to explain to people what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel bad for Trevor because he grew up with me, who I laugh at people's pain kind of thing. I just don't have the deep empathy. I have to work really hard at it. And you know, I'm the one who cracked up at something that everybody else is like, no, this is serious. I'm like, sorry, I just thought it was funny. You know, it wasn't meaning to be ill intent. I just don't have that neural pathway built in my brain. And I constantly have to actually think about it. Because, you know, I don't even have individualization. You know, let's go back to mine really quick. You guys can see that I'm completely, you know, just execution oriented, really learning, and then, you know, building the relationships that I can with performers, with other executionists. And so to hear some of the stories from Trevor about how deeply he feels, I'm just like, sorry, I was such a bad big sister.
Hey, Brandy.
That's okay. Dad didn't have it either. And, you know, I just went through, you know,
guy.
I created just a false persona, lots of trauma, and then years of therapy. So no big deal. It's fine.
I'm trying to make up for it now with my execution.
You're doing a great job. Yeah.
Thanks, Brad.
Brandy, do you think
I
that?
just need,
Go ahead, Trevor.
no, I was making more jokes. I was going to say, I don't need execution. I just need a hug. No, not really. I'm just kidding. Just fucking
You
around.
little Care Bear.
That's Brad. I'm a hugger. Everybody I meet, it's kind of awkward sometimes.
Now,
Coming to Dallas with leg wrap and all.
Come on down, Trevor. We'll give you some hugs.
What were you going to ask, Rondia?
I don't know. Do you think this strengthology assessment targets primarily the business mind, or do you think that's as the individual as a whole on a personal level too?
I think it's on a whole. When they did the research, it was Don Clifton at the University of Nebraska. He didn't do this from a business perspective. Gallup is what took it into the business. When they did it, he simply thought to himself, actually, let me show you Don CliftonStrengths. He's very similar to y'all. If we go to resources, here he is. These are his. He's got the individualization maximizer strategic thing going on. So he was a professor, PhD at Nebraska, and just said, what if we stop focusing on people's weaknesses? What if we focus on people's strengths? What would that look like? And then he goes, well, how do we need to do research in order to understand that? So they researched tons of people, tons of personalities, and they came up with those buckets that we know as the top 34 strengths. In fact, originally it was 32, and they split out a couple more later on as they did more research. But the intent was just to simply go, okay, now if we can assess people and give them their strengths in order, can they maximize them? And can they, you know, really become who they're supposed to become for their future? You can see it had futuristic really high as well. So this really just came from one individual being very interested and how to help people become significant in their futures and maximize their strengths. And he had an extreme focus on that.
interesting.
And then Gallup, you know, bought it and took it out to businesses.
Okay.
His empathy is low. His restorative is low. His context is low. His consistency is low. So we see the same types of things here we saw before.
Well, I'm feeling better now.
This guy has impacted 28 million people today, so you should feel great. Look at all that potential in all y'all.
Look at that.
And Brandy, one thing that you helped show me in when you put together like the various teams that I've got, the individualization and maximization strengths together for sure, probably strategic as well, I think is what helped a lot of that come together. So I guess for anybody that has teams that they're leading or people that could be formed up by team or need somebody that is just innately gifted with putting right people in right spots. I mean, if you have individualization, they're going to love it. They're going to think it's fun and that they're playing, and they're going to put together these really, really effective teams.
Yeah. And this tool helps people do it you know, if you're a manager or a leader or some, you know, you can come in here and use the tool to do it too, which makes it easy. Because some people are
Yeah, that's
intuitive
what I mean.
like you
The
guys,
reports. Mhm.
and some of us need data like me. So
Yep.
okay, well, you guys are all awesome. Thank you so much for a wonderful session today. Do you guys mind if I put it on YouTube? Anybody have, everybody okay with that?
No, go for it.
Okay, if you're not, just let me know after the call. All right, thank you so much. Anybody else have anything else before we go?
Great show.
Yeah. Thank
Thanks,
you
Brad.
again, Brandy.
You're so
Thank you.
welcome.
Thanks
you
for the
guys.
ocean view, Trevor.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for joining from your cruise.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
fun.
for sure.
I'm extremely
It was.
jealous and frustrated now. but-
Yep, it's decent. Search me on all the social medias, and you'll be worse off. It'll be super.
You'll have a bit of Monday envy. Yeah,
Yeah, a little. Yeah. What is that? FOMO? Fear of missing out. There
yeah.
you go.
My
You'll have a
puppy
little
has
FOMO.
that.
Perfect.
All right. Thank
All right,
you
thanks,
so much,
everyone.
everybody.
See you
Have a
later.
wonderful Monday. Have a good week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, next week, relator and connectedness, if you're wondering.
Oh, I was wondering.
Relator and connectedness.
Do you know who's on it yet?
Right.
Yes, Tad's going to be with us. Gloria's going to be with us. And then I just asked a third person if she would like to join as well. So I'll let you know if she's joining.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Cool.
Doing great.
It's
Okay.
been fun.
Awesome. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Susan. Thanks,
Mhm.
Brad.
Oh, you're
Bye-bye.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.